how can we lose old and bad habits?
Right. Lose old and bad habits. Well, let's start by acknowledging that habits are not just random things. Habits are almost, if you would, things that keep us alive. So
Yep.
habits don't just appear. Habits come from a part of us where they are doing a positive thing. And to break out of an old habit, you've got to first identify what it's doing for you,
Yeah.
how you got there in the first place, what this is about. And it's a bit like consciously, I want to break an old habit, but unconsciously, there are payoffs. That there's a reason that habit is there and
Yeah.
it's happening.
Yeah.
And making that connection, that's where to start. Here's an example. So, I mean, a young man goes for therapy because they really want to stop smoking and they tried everything to stop smoking without any joy with that. And as the whole thing started getting explored, something emerged that as a boy, this young man, as a boy, he used to get put to bed at night by his mother, who was a smoker, and so he would smell his mother's cigarette breath, and that was at the time he was being tucked to bed to sleep. So that moment of connection with his mother and that moment of feeling loved was also wrapped with the cigarette smoke. So it was the smell of that cigarette smoke. So whereas consciously one could say, well, he's smoking, he's hurting his health.
Mm.
Unconsciously, he was connecting with his mother, and at this point, his mother was dead. Now, no stop smoking protocol worked before this point. And the only other thing that then happened was, well, there was something else that connected him to his mother, which he didn't think about at the time, which was his mother's perfume. So he bought that and started spraying that around in his room, and automatically smoking disappeared without him having to do any much more work on that. The point here is that our habits come from somewhere else. So
Mm.
to end a bad habit, you're going to ask yourself, well, usually people start with why do I do this? The answer you get from why do I do this is hardly the real reason. That's the backward rationalization. The
Okay.
question to ask is, what does this truly do for me? What's the positive intention behind this habit? I have a habit of procrastination. What's the positive intention about that? Well, I then said to the person, procrastination is really not a bad habit. It's just a stress response. So maybe the question to ask is, what am I stressed about? And then you
Mm.
can deal with the procrastination. I have a bad habit of spending and not saving. Well, you can ask yourself the question, what does this do for me? Where did I learn that spending feels safer than saving? What's the origin of this? And again, it calls for a deeper talk with the unconscious part of you. Otherwise, it will be the same good old thing people do. Maybe at the beginning of the year, people make New Year resolutions, and
Yes. Yes.
it dies because you can't consciously override the unconscious, as it were. It's a bit like being in a bus that is driving, and you can narrate everything you're seeing on the road. It wouldn't cause the driver to change direction. The driver will only change direction when you talk to the driver in a way that causes the driver to agree to change direction. So the driver of your life bus is the unconscious mind, and the
Yeah.
conscious mind is like the passenger. So no matter how much decisions you make consciously, if there's no
Yeah.
agreement with the unconscious part of you involved, it's not going to happen. So
Okay.
this is one key point to make as regards changing habits.